This is the BMW E36 3 Series Compact, a 90s German 3-door hatchback. It was first launched in 1994 and produced until 2000. As the model name suggests, it is the compact version of the popular E36 BMW 3 Series sedan platform, having a significantly shortened rear end and the sedan trunk lid being replaced with a hatch. It underwent a range of cosmetic and powertrain changes during its 7-year production run, with several engine options to choose from. The original range consisted of the 1.6-liter 102 horsepower M43 inline-4 called the 316i, as well as the 1.8-liter 140 horsepower M42 inline-4 called the 318ti. In the following year, a turbo diesel model was added to the range, the 1.7-liter 90 horsepower 318 TDS, in addition to the natural gas-compatible 316G, producing a modest 82 horsepower. Later, in 1997, the 323 Ti was introduced in some markets, fitted with the spectacular 2.5-liter 170 horsepower M52 straight-6 engine. BMW also had plans to make a performance version called the E36 M3 Compact with 321 horsepower, but the concept never made it into production and the project was eventually scrapped due to sale concerns. In early 1999, toward the end of the production run of the model, the 316i received an upgrade to its engine, raising the displacement to 1.9-liter and power to 105 horsepower. The BMW E36 3 Series Compact is not the first hatchback produced by BMW. In fact, the conception of a compact BMW dates far back to the 60s with the O2 Touring. However, it is the first modern introduction of a hatchback into the BMW lineup since 1974 and paved the way for the highly popular premium hatchback segment in the automotive world, which includes models such as the Mercedes-Benz A-Class and Audi A3. The 3 Series Compact is also the predecessor of the BMW 1 Series, BMW's current subcompact car segment. The BMW E36 3 Series Compact was the entry-level BMW model at the time and intended to expand the brand's customer base by being more affordable compared to its premium lineup and appealing to the younger buyers. Unlike its small hatchback competitors, it used a rear-wheel drive configuration instead of front-wheel drive, retaining the sporting heritage and driving experience that the brand is so well known for. In this video I will show you the most interesting and unusual features of the exterior, interior, as well as the driving experience that this 90s BMW has to offer. If you enjoyed the video and want to see more of this content, please consider liking the video and subscribing to my channel. Thank you. The first exterior feature that you immediately notice, especially as a BMW enthusiast, is the quirky shape and unusual proportions of this car. From the front bumper to the A-pillar, it looks virtually identical to the E36 Coupe. However, the appearance changes radically in the rear end with its rather short overhang and the body ending abruptly past the rear wheels. This is common on small hatchbacks, but as the shape of the rear bumper and the rest of the car is so similar to a BMW sedan, it almost looks as if a part of the rear has been sawn off. This feature makes the design of the 3 Series Compact a bit controversial, but whether you like it or not, I'm sure we all can at least agree that the shape is unique and distinctive. Speaking of the rear, the most prominent unusual feature is that it has a rear tailgate. The entire trunk lid and rear glass swing upward as one piece, which makes the cargo space very generous and accessible. Another minor interesting feature of the rear of this car is the taillights that have a small BMW emblem embossed in them. A very subtle detail that most people won't notice, but nevertheless quite neat. Moving on to the front of the 3 Series Compact, there are not that many unusual features at first glance. There's iconic quad headlights found on many classic BMW models, and of course the distinctive kidney grille, a feature that BMWs are known for. Nothing particularly unusual about these. However, what is interesting about the E36 front styling is the panel that surrounds the kidney grille itself. One might think that it's part of the bumper or a metal section, but it turns out that it's a separate plastic panel. This is a clever way of making the appearance of the front end more uniform and really adds to the unique design of the E36. Another unusual exterior feature is the amount of black plastic trim around the whole car, including the front and rear bumpers as well as the wide door strips. There's also the license plate holder, the lower grille, the wing mirrors, the headlight washers, and even the door handles. Some examples even have black trim covering the entire rocker panels, lower bumpers, and the B-pillar. You typically don't find this much trim on any other car, with the exception of the Citroën C4 Cactus. I'm not sure what the reasoning behind this was, but at least you can keep your paintwork in good shape. Interestingly, this car has no visible radio antenna on the outside. There is no indication of a retracted power antenna and not even a fin on the roof that you find on many modern cars. So where is it located? It turns out that it is hidden inside the C-pillar and completely concealed. This is really clever in my opinion, and I am surprised it has not been utilized in more cars over the years. Another odd exterior feature that stands out on this car is the position of the fuel door that is located in front of the rear wheel arch and very far down. almost by the rocker panel. This is a very unusual placement and not something you typically see in most cars, as they tend to be located far up on the rear quarter panel. I suspect the reason for this is that the rear overhang is so short that they instead had to move the fuel door and possibly even the fuel tank closer to the center of the car due to space constraints. Also, an interesting mechanical feature is that it used almost the same rear suspension setup as the previous 3 Series model, the renowned E30. Unlike the rest of the E36 cars that used a more modern Z-axle multi-link suspension, the E36 Compact made use of a simpler semi-trailing arm rear axle instead. This is again due to the space constraints. The trailing arm design was smaller and allowed for a lower trunk floor height, fold-down rear seats, and an exterior under-mounted compact spare tire. This made the car much more driver-intensive and prone to oversteer, a characteristic that has both been criticized and admired. Speaking of the exterior under-mounted spare tire, this is another peculiar feature of the 3 Series Compact that is in my opinion needlessly over-engineered. Instead of having a spare tire stored underneath the trunk space like most other cars, this car has the spare tire positioned under the car. How do you access it, you may ask? Well, first you need to fold back the trunk carpet like you would in most cars. You will then have access to a wide range of tools, including a screwdriver, a wrench, a spark plug socket, a tire iron, a tow hook, a specialized jack that I will mention later, and a plastic rod. You then have to loosen a nut in the spare tire storage area to remove a cover, and then use the plastic rod to lower the spare tire to the ground. Quite complicated, isn't it? Now, regarding the specialized jack I talked about before. While this one is also over-engineered, it is also very useful. Instead of jacking up the car using jacking points below the car using a conventional jack that comes with the car, there are 2 hidden round cutouts on the rear and front of both rocker panels that you can access by removing the caps using your BMW screwdriver. You can then attach the jack and very effortlessly raise your car from the side. Very nifty in my opinion. Moving on to the interior, there are not as many interesting and unusual features compared to the exterior, but there are a few worth mentioning. The interior is very similar to that of most other classic BMWs of this era. It is very logical with a clean, simple driver focus design. However, what first catches your attention as a BMW enthusiast is that the interior is more reminiscent of the previous E30 model than the updated E36 interior. The most notable similarities are the instrument panel, vents, and climate control operation. Another interesting feature of the interior is that it shares many components with the premium BMW models at the time that cost significantly more than the E36 3 Series Compact. For instance, the steering wheel, gear lever knob, pedals, window and heated seat switches are identical to the 8 Series, really enhancing the quality feel of the car despite being an entry-level BMW. And even if the rest of the materials are cheaper and of worse quality, you can proudly say that your car shares components with a luxurious 8 Series BMW that costs more than 100,000 euros new in today's money. The interior has a dark theme with the majority of the parts being black plastic or leather. Also, the headliner is black, which was rather uncommon back in the days and mostly limited to more exclusive cars, not something you would expect to find in a 3-door hatchback. As expected, the amount of technological features and electronics of this car are limited to basic conveniences such as power windows, power mirrors, theft alarm and air conditioning. However, it does have a simple trip computer on a small digital display by the radio that shows useful data such as outside temperature and fuel consumption that you can scroll through using the indicator stalk. Another minor interesting feature is the seat folding mechanism to access the rear seats. In most coupes you do this by pulling a latch on the side of the seat, but the E36 3 Series Compact is different. Instead of only having one latch, you have 2 on the passenger side, so that you can fold the seat directly from the driver's seat. Speaking of the rear seat, it is surprisingly spacious for being such a small and compact car. This is due to the fact that the E36 3 Series Compact retained the same wheelbase as the E36 sedan, despite being 22.5 cm shorter. For that reason the legroom is adequate even for adults, and the headroom is even better than the sedan due to the taller hatchback roof. It is not only spacious but also surprisingly practical as far as cargo space is concerned, as the rear seats fold with a nearly flat loading space. In fact, it has up to 1030 liters of trunk volume, not bad for a 3-door hatchback. The glove compartment is quite similar to what you find in most cars, albeit rather small, but it does have some unusual features worth mentioning. The first one is the 2 cup holders where you can place smaller items, but I would not exactly recommend using them when the car is in motion, as they offer no support whatsoever. There is a luxurious leather case with the BMW logo on it containing the owner's manual and miscellaneous ownership items, including a brochure about the so-called smart key system. The principle behind this is that the keys of this era of BMW have a memory that can program certain functions and preferences for individual keys and users when the car is unlocked with a particular key, such as climate control settings and if all doors should be locked when the car is in motion. The idea was to use these colored decals to help identify each program key. Quite a nifty feature in my opinion, and certainly sophisticated for its time. Even if it certainly was more useful for the more luxurious models, such as the E38 7 Series that have more configurable settings, unlike the E36 3 Series Compact where most of these are manual, such as the seat adjustments. As for the driving experience, the E36 3 Series Compact is interesting and unusual in many ways. First of all, it is one of few, if not the only hatchback at the time that offered rear-wheel drive. This retained the driving characteristics of what the BMW brand is so well known for, despite the lower price point. As expected from this golden era of BMW, the car is really nimble and predictable on twisty roads. The steering is precise and direct even if it is on the lighter side. The handling and cornering ability is certainly a strong point and difficult to fault, but it does suffer from some body roll. Even if it is notorious for its oversteer characteristics as a result of its semi-trailing arm rear suspension, this is not something you tend to experience unless the car is pushed to the limit. At the same time, it adds to the fun factor that the previous generation E33 series is praised so much for. It is a fun and rewarding car to drive, really offering that analog driving experience that is so rare to find in modern cars these days as they have grown in size and acquired so many driver aids over the years. With a curb weight of only 1.2 tons, it feels light on its feet and tossable, and given that it's a BMW, the pedal placements are excellent, and so is the gearbox. The gear changes feel slick and precise, even if the throws are relatively long. As for the engines, the inline-4s can feel a bit sluggish at times due to their relatively low power output, with the updated 316i version having a 0 to 100 time of 11.9 seconds. With this being said, it is a well-engineered, peppy engine that pulls strong, especially at higher revs. Overall, the BMW E36 3 Series Compact is an interesting car with its quirky styling along with its fun analog driving dynamics. Despite being considered an entry-level BMW and the fact that it has never been the most sought after, it is nevertheless a respectable performer and an excellent choice for those who want to experience what sheer driving pleasure feels like without breaking the bank.